me 1 second to get us back streaming, please. Okay, we're back.
Yeah, Mayor, as a result of our consultation in executive session, we reviewed the criteria for architectural and facade approval, and we note the receipt of the three-dimensional renderings previously requested by the board. On the basis of that receipt, it is my understanding that the board may have some suggestions for design changes that it would like to share with the applicant under Code 575-178D. And with that in mind, I believe that the board is prepared to offer the applicant an opportunity to confer with a representative of the board later this week to discuss possible design changes. If that is the case, then this matter can be continued over to a subsequent board meeting date to be determined as a result of the meeting later this week with the applicant. If that's the board's pleasure, is there a motion to that effect?
I move.
All right. And it is my understanding, Mayor, that the applicant is prepared to meet later this week to have that conference and talk about design changes. Mr. Bloom, if you're on the call, could you confirm that?
I'm waiting for the response from my client. I have made the suggestion that, in fact, we accept the proposal pursuant to 575-178D, and that we meet later this week. And if my client is listening, can I please have a yay or nay with respect to that? If you can send me a text right now. Go ahead.
Okay, is there a second to that motion? The mayor moved the item. Is there a second?
You have to, board members, you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah,
I'll second.
second.
Okay. Is there any, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Are there any abstentions or negative votes? Hearing
One.
none. Say again?
One abstention.
One abstention from trustee Hope. And the motion therefore passes. And
Thank
this
you.
matter will be restored to the agenda at another board meeting, a date which will be determined following a conference with the applicant.
Thank you
Mayor,
so much.
thank you. Mayor, that takes us to the next item of old business, which is an application for architectural and facade review for 733 through 741 Middle Neck Road. It is my understanding that the applicant does have a representative here by way of his architect, although its counsel was unfortunately double booked and was not able to attend this evening. Is there a representative of the applicant for 733 on the call?
Mr. B, it's John Farrell. I actually.
Oh, John.
You guys ran a lot longer than I expected, so I was able to join in.
We
Very
especially
good.
John.
I believe our architect is on the line. I do know that my client has met with representatives of the village over the past week and a half or so, and has made some design changes to the building based on those recommendations that he received. And I would like our architect to go through those at this point.
Hi, this is Oz Chetan. I represent the engineer's office once again. For the architectural designer is in this project, not the architect's office officially. So I can go over through, if we're sharing the screen, I can go over the design revisions that the owner, went through over the past 2 weeks, reflecting the comments that was received from the previous meeting. This is the view on the side street, I believe there are two views. One of them more perspective, showing the corner. If we can
This
open
is the
that
north
one.
road side of the building, just to make.
Yeah. Yeah. So the corner of the building, again, the office is introduced a more more compartmentalized approach to the comments previously, having two long walls and two same finishes. So it's been revised to be broken into blocks, and where the French balconies and the living rooms are more in the primary facade, shown in gray, and where the more like the bedrooms and the smaller windows, more in context with the apartment housing, is in the secondary facade, shown in the lighter color. So the combination is a stucco and metal cladding. Stucco is a very popular topic tonight, but it's when it's done right, the fine texture and the finish carries good qualities, good stone-like qualities, even it's not exactly natural stone. So, but the team is believing that it's quite residential in that context, apartment building. And these are the updated facade and materials for your review.
Sir, it's my understanding that the applicant is withdrawing its request for a roof deck. Is that the case?
That is the case, Mr. B. We are withdrawing that request at this time. We may revisit it in the future, but for the time being, I think the rooftop deck is not as important as the project as a whole. And my client wants to proceed with this with or without the roof deck. So at this point, we're going to withdraw it.
Right. And Mr. Haramis, I think you're still on the call. The only concern I had, is certainly not in the field of engineering, is whether that verbal withdrawal of the roof deck would require any significant alteration of the plans that have been submitted to the building department, or whether that verbal representation of it's the same plans minus the roof deck would be satisfactory to you, and that you could proceed with the plans you have.
It's satisfactory with the verbal. It is a public hearing. It is recorded. That is fine. And I will show it and note it on the plans.
Thank you.
So I think, you've seen the new renderings of the building. We've reduced the amount of glass, the sizes of the windows. We've put those ornamental lights along the side and the front of the building. This is based on the comments that we received from the board. If the board has any questions or any comments, we're here to address them.
I like this a lot more than the previous presentation. I see that you have 3 different color schemes.
Yes, that's correct. Again,
So this is white with beige. Let me ask you, you said that there's stucco still. I thought that we're getting rid of the stucco.
So I apologize if it wasn't clear. The stucco is on the secondary facade in the back side, but the 2 facades you see here is not stucco, and it's a two color scheme composite metal cladding system. The secondary facades in the back side will be stucco.
You did have a picture of one of the windows. If you can also post that, I don't know if you have it here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Mayor, the board will recall that this has already been to the Zoning Board of Appeals where the applicant did receive certain variance relief. Additionally, that board, acting as the lead agency, has already declared the project to be unlisted with a negative impact on the environment. The project has also been to the Nassau County Planning Commission. Their advice and comments were received by the Zoning Board of Appeals, and they responded to that advice. And I believe, Mr. Farrell, could you just confirm my recitals are all accurate there?
Yes, that is correct, Mr. B.
Okay, so the balance of the project, once the roof deck is removed, would appear to be as of right. And so what's left is the architectural and facade review approvals.
So I'd like to say that I want to thank the applicant and the architect and Mr. Farrell for graciously going back and coming up with this design, which I personally like a lot better. I think it's a warmer, more residential look that would fit in nicely in that area. You know, as to the dimensions of the building, that's not something that we can deal with. So, given the parameters that we have, I really like this design. My preference, which is take it with a grain of salt because I'm colorblind, is either for the beige or the white. So,
I like to also make a comment on the new design. I think it's a significant change from the one before, and I do want to applaud the architect, Mr. Farrow, and also the applicant for
Mayor, we can't hear you. Mayor, we can't hear you.
Oh, we've lost the mayor.
Mayor?
I guess the deputy mayor has to step in.
Okay,
Give him a
well,
minute.
The meeting, but we can't hear you.
Anyway,
is he mute or is he dropped off?
I think he dropped off. I think he's signed back in.
He just dropped off. As soon as he rejoins, I'll
Deputy Mayor, in anticipation of the possibility of an approval this evening, our office drafted an approval resolution, which perhaps Mr. Cohen can put up, but it recites the background that I just went over a moment ago. It recites that you have reviewed the criteria for architectural and facade review, and it would resolve that you are granting that approval for the architectural and facade subject to strict adherence by the applicant for construction according to the plans submitted to the board minus the roof deck, the representations made to the board, and the conditions of the variance granted by the ZBA. Finally, and this may not be necessary, I added a resolved clause that these approvals are contingent upon the applicant amending its application and plans within 20 days hereof in writing to conform to the verbal representations made at the hearing on April 20th that no permission for the roof deck is sought at the current time. So for whatever amendment or writing the building department needs to confirm that withdrawal of the roof deck, they would be having 20 days to provide that to the building department. And if so, they would have received their approval. I see the mayor is back.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I lost, I don't know what happened. I just lost internet somehow.
Right. So we just put up the proposed draft resolution that the last two paragraphs recite the resolved clause that would be present if you decided to move forward with this approval.
Did we see the materials yet?
Physical samples are not submitted yet. They will be after, because our office proposed 3 options, and we will provide accordingly.
Yeah,
But
Trustee Mendelson, I think the timing of everything kind of left us in a position where we weren't able to provide those immediately. But we can provide those materials.
I mean, architectural review can't really be given without the samples.
Can we do
Understood.
subject to those samples being given?
That's up to the board, but, I think Trustee Mendelson is correct that that should be part of the application, that material samples should be provided. If the board wishes to give approval contingent upon the receipt of them, I think that it needs to add that someone needs to have reviewed them and give it the approval of the board. Or is the board suggesting that the building department could approve them, or a subcommittee of the board? How would the board like to proceed on that?
Let me ask the applicant if they would be able to provide the material and when.
I would have to defer to the engineer. Oz, what do you?
Yeah. The physical samples we can order within a week. I believe there was discussion with the similar properties in the area with 705 Middle Neck, or it will be similar materials, but
We can't.
I
go
understand.
similar. We have to see the actual material.
Yeah, and
Do we also
I can say
like an eastern elevation and a southern elevation available to look at?
so those are not fully rendered yet in the plans and in previous meetings. It's the repetition is similar on those facades. They have the similar, the larger, larger windows in the living rooms limited, and the smaller windows in the bedroom side. But we didn't render those sides, only the main facade.
I think, I think we're making a representation with our renderings that we've submitted that the building is going to be mirrored all the way around. It's going to have the same materials and the same design and et cetera on the east side and the west side.
But different
I don't know
material.
what an extra set of renderings we do at this point, because it's really, it's the side abutting an existing commercial property. So, I mean, I don't want to be combative or argumentative. I just think it's excessive. It really doesn't lend anything to the project. It doesn't lend anything to the to the review.
Didn't you say that it was metal cladding on the street, on the rear side and stucco on the street side?
No, the other way.
The opposite. Yeah, these two sides you're seeing is.
So then wouldn't we need to see those other exposures?
They're saying they look the same, they're just different material.
Yeah.
Okay, and again, I want to say that you guys have moved completely toward the right direction, and I don't want to just get stuck in the minutia. As I think the presentation, I like the presentation of both the white and the one beige and white. As far as going in the right direction, we have. I don't know I heard that Bart also had the same suggestions. I am interested to see what the other side look like, and I think that gives you enough time, but I don't think that it's going to, it's good to see. I think the people who live behind need to know what this building is going to look like, at least from the east side. As far as the south side, it is facing the commercial buildings, but again, because of the height, the third and fourth floor will be visible as you're driving north. I think it's good to see what they look like. And as far as the material, I don't know if I would be okay for the for that side to be less than the Middle Neck Road and North Road. So that is my suggestion. I know that it will increase the cost, but I think you should realize that it has complete visibility as you're driving north on Middle Neck Road because it has 4 floors. I would definitely suggest for that to be the same material as Middle Neck Road. That's my suggestion.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't believe that that'll be an issue.
Yeah.
That's, you know, we will certainly use the same materials because we realize that the building will be visible as you drive north.
Okay.
I just, you know, my concern here is now, you know, we've gone, we've done a lot of work here in a short period of time in the anticipation of trying to get an approval this evening. The materials that we've selected were suggested by the village. So we assume that the village was familiar with the materials and what they look like and the texture and whatever else you would consider if in reviewing of materials. I can assure you that we will use what you guys envision us, or the board envisioned us using when we had these conversations over the past week and a half. I think, you know, if the board grants an approval subject to, we can provide those materials, but those materials are going to match what the village board is familiar with.
Right.
Mayor, I had personally been unaware that the village had identified materials for the applicant, which, if that's the case, the board may choose to say that it is already familiar with the materials. It has that as an option, or it can say that we want to have those sample materials submitted, because the board ought to have familiarity with the materials before granting architectural approval. As far as renderings, similar, right?
Right. So I have, again, I don't know, I don't want to, I'm okay with saying subject to the material. As I think the material is not anything new. And I believe that most of us have, if not all of us have, familiarity with these materials. So I am okay with saying subject to as long as the materials being used on the 3 sides that I mentioned at least, making sure that obviously the material that is being used on the east side is going to be sturdy enough that is not going to change with time, that is going to be visible to the neighbors on the east side. As far as the rendering, I don't know what the rendering is going to look like on the south side and the east side. I have not seen that. I don't know if they can provide that as well. And if you can say subject to the renderings from east and south. So go ahead.
And I believe that can be provided if it's requested, and but as we mentioned, it's the exact same look and repetition on that same side, And your point is taken for materials to match on that side too. That's easy to do because it's all cladding. The color is different.
Right, but if you're the person living on the east side of that building, you want to see what it looks like. It's
Yeah.
not reasonable to expect that.
Yeah.
And
I understand. The owner will award the request. I can say, I'm sure.
Well, I'm kind of lost because if I knew we needed to have the building rendered on 4 sides from the last hearing, we would have easily provided them. I mean, we had a pretty lengthy discussion about the facade and the renderings, and now this is the first time we're hearing it. It just delays the project further. I wish if we had known, we would have had that done certainly prior to this hearing.
Mayor, it's up to the board, of course, but it would seem your choices are to adjourn pending receipt of the building materials and the additional renderings, or to approve on the theory that you have already reviewed the materials and don't feel the additional 2 sides are necessary to have in front of you now. Or you could approve without conditions or disapprove. Those, I think, are the available choices. It sounds as if several trustees are looking to have those material samples and renderings before rendering the final decision, but that's up to the board.
Understood.
So I'm getting a lot of messages coming. I think a lot of questions that people are asking has to do with the BZA approval that was made. I don't know if they're asking for, I really don't know if it is to do with the architectural and facade review. Anyway, let me see.
I think
Can
we
we
have
do
to see those renderings.
advice of council, just see how we should do this?
Very good, sir. Are we moving into advice of council?
Yes, please. Abraham?
Yes, I'm setting up the room. Just one moment.
Stop and